Hi, John Morgan here with Bob's Market and Greenhouses, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Market Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. So to get things started off this week, we have an announcement, and that is, of course, our Spring Color Tour. It's coming up on Saturday, April 27th at 3 p.m., and it's going to be here at our production facility in Mason, West Virginia. And also, by way of announcements, sorry guys, I forgot to make a slide for it, but right now we have our spring photo contest, and you can find information for that on our blog. So if you go to bobsmarketblog.com, you can find information about our spring photo contest. So I want to get started this week with our helpful gardening hints and tips for the week. Now, in the newsletter this week, we talked about starting seeds indoors. So I wanted to do a video that shows you just how easy it is to do. So let's check that out right now. Hi, John Morgan here with Bob's Market and Greenhouses. And today I'm standing here in one of our seed germination rooms. Now, a lot of our seedlings come in here to get their start. But you know what? You can get the same results at home too. So we're going to show you how you can do that. When it comes to starting your own seeds at home, there's plenty of varieties to choose from. And there's also plenty of different ways to plant them. You can use your own containers, or you can buy things like these compressed peat containers, or peat pellets that expand when you water them. So, welcome to my home office / seed starting area. So once you get home with all of your materials, of course your seeds and your containers, whether you buy the peat moss pots or trays, or the pellets like I just prefer purchasing, your next step is of course going to be to gather your materials here. And of course the main things that you need is a watering can with water. And another really helpful tool when it comes to initially moistening these peat pellets is a spray bottle. You can just mist them with the sprayer, and that'll help them swell a little bit. And this tray actually has a little grid in the bottom, so when these swell out, they kind of get held in place. If you were to just go and dump water in, the pellets would actually float up, and then you end up with a mess. So by spraying them like this, it'll let them swell out a little bit, and then you can go ahead and add more water to them after they swell. So now that the pellets have swelled out a little bit, we can go ahead and add our water. And what I like to do after I add the water is let it set for a day or so open, so any excess water can kind of evaporate, which during the winter time with the dry air, it doesn't take it very long at all for the extra water to evaporate. And you can see here that I have a few pellets that are floating a little bit, so I'll have to keep an eye on those and poke them down in as they swell up. So the next step, now that our peat pellets are filled with water, is actually to sow the seeds. And each of the pellets has a little indentation on the top to help you when planting. So the seeds that I am sowing are basil seeds. And they are kind of hard to see where they're black. They blend right in with the soil. But they are pretty easy to plant. So I'm just adding a few to each hole. And then later on I can go back and thin them out. So I'm just making sure that there's a couple seeds at least in each hole. And it helps out to add more than one seed in case a seed doesn't germinate. So now I'm just going to go back, give the tops a little pinch to cover them up. You don't need a lot of soil covering the seed. And there you have it. So finally, I add the finished containers to my seed starting area here in my office. I also use this shelving system for houseplants. And I have a couple fluorescent plant lights. And it was really a cheap system to set up. It's just simple wire shelving and a couple lights. You can pick those up at most hardware stores for around $10. For this and other great information, visit us online at bulbsmarket.com. So that's all there is to it when it comes to starting seedlings at home. It's very easy to do. And, you know, I like to do it because there's some varieties, you know, that are special, that I like to grow, that I save the seeds for. And, you know, I also like to grow a huge garden. So starting the seedlings myself, save quite a bit of money. And if you're looking for seeds and onion sets, seed potatoes, all of those great things, you can find them right now at our markets. And of course, we need to know what the weather is going to be like if you're going to be out working in the yard and the garden. And right now we are getting into some just beautiful weather. So let's take a look at the gardening weather forecast, and it is going to be just an awesome weekend to be outside working in the garden. I noticed this morning when I was driving to work that some of my neighbors have tilled up their gardens, and you know, it's that time of year. It's just beautiful out. So Saturday and Sunday, we're looking at temperatures up near 70, and it's going to be partly cloudy, but you know, mostly sunny. It's just going to be beautiful. And then heading into Monday and Tuesday, again, 70s and 80s. My land. This is April, and we're already talking about temperatures in the 80s. But with those high temperatures, you know, in the springtime, that usually means thunderstorms are on the way. And if we take a look at the early week forecast, there's going to be some severe weather in the southern U.S. And later on in the week, that's going to be moving up into our area. So when we get into Wednesday and Thursday of next week, we can expect some showers and thunderstorms, and those temperatures are going to drop kind of back down to their normal level for this time of year. If we look at the extended temperature readings, extended temperature forecast, we're actually going to be kind of higher than normal through next week. Then there's a little bit of a drop off into the 10th, 11th, and 12th, and then we're going to climb right back up into the 70s. And it looks like more toward the end of the month we're going to have another little cold spell. So all this nice weather and lack of rain, that does mean one thing, and that has to do with our allergy forecast. When there's no rain, that lets the pollen build up. So our pollen forecast right now, we are at 11.4 on our scale of 0 to 12. Now, if you're like me, I'm mainly allergic to grass pollen, so it's not really having an effect on me right now. But if tree pollen is what sets you off, oh wow, it's not a good time to go outside because all of the trees are starting to bloom. And, you know, those pollen levels are on the rise. And if we take a look at the map, you can see that we're kind of in the yellow, so it's still kind of on the low end of the scale for our area up through the Ohio Valley. If you're further down in the south, you know, Georgia, that area, you can see the oranges and the yellows creeping in there, and that's really where the pollen is the thickest right now. So as the spring progresses, we'll see this map, you know, fill out and also move north. It's kind of neat to watch this because you'll see it move from the south to the north as the trees bloom. So let's take a look at what our Gardener's Almanac looks like. And we do have a great time for planting coming up on the 7th and the 9th, or 7th through the 9th rather. And it's going to be a great time for planting root crops. You know, the best thing that you could probably plant right now outside would be carrots. You know, they're a classic spring crop. Great time to plant them. Onions, awesome time to plant onion sets. And the 5th and the 6th, it's going to be a little bit of a barren period. It's a great time for killing plant pests. So if you cut back weeds, brush during this time, it's going to be a great time to do that. And then the 10th and the 11th, those are going to be poor planting days. And then after that, moving on in to the end of next week, you know, Friday into next weekend, we're looking at another good planting period. Well, that finishes up our show for this week. So I'll see you back here next week at 4 o'clock.